Hello everyone, Spongy11 here back again for another video, and you might be wondering what type of video this is. Obviously this isn't a wooden railway video, and while it is technically an analytical video of sorts, it's not a useful talks about episode, as technically, at the time of recording this, I have still not written the script yet. But anyway, at the time of recording this, this is an annotated video of sorts. Let me explain what that means. Now, technically, there's this thing called an annotated book.
Basically, it's a book, but filled with numbered annotations throughout it. Those annotations explaining some part of the production that pertains to that scene, like the original inspiration, something that changed after its conception, why something was changed, the history of a character, etc.
However, when Unlucky Tug did his Thomas and the Magic Railroad review, all the information that was basically useless and didn't need to be put in the actual review was put into an annotated video.
Now picture that, but in video form.
Pointing out the facts, behind-the-scenes trivia, and etc. about the movie's production. When Unlucky Tug did this type of video, it inspired me to make this type of video on a certain project that I did back in March over a year ago, but didn't get to upload until July of last year. This was my Be Kind Rewind Magic Railroad project, so join me as I talk a little bit about the history of why I made this project in the first place. So, it was late February, early March, and my psychology teacher had proposed a project called Be Kind Rewind. Now, what this project was going to do was test our memories, which means we had to remake 3 scenes from a movie off of memory, dialogue and all, and recreate it. This was one of the last few assignments I had in this class before I was on the verge of graduating. Now, technically, the teacher gave us a list of movies that we could do. However, there was a loophole. He said that we could do a movie that was not on the list, and when he said that, the light bulbs in my head started going off. I asked him if I could do a movie that was not on the list, and he said yes, and he also asked me to send him a trailer of it. And what did I do after that? I sent him the trailer of Thomas and the Magic Railroad.
Who else were you expecting?
And apparently he liked it so much that he let me go ahead and do 3 scenes from the movie. Now, the reason I asked him if I could do, I guess, a Thomas movie was because I felt like I couldn't remember any dialogue off the top of my head from anything else. Now, I wasn't bad at school, but a lot of information just never stuck in my mind. When it comes to doing things such as remembering more than one thing at once, or with me being a Christian remembering certain Bible verses, it's just information that I find hard to keep in my head sometimes. But when it comes to Thomas stuff, I can remember a lot off the top of my head, even though there are times where I have to actually stop and think for a second. But anyway, after I got the green light and the moment I got home, I started filming. Of course, there were a few requirements, like the one thing about this project, it had to be low budget, which really shows why this project isn't perfect. Otherwise, I would have worked even harder on it than I already did. Anyway, I think that's enough information out of the way. Let's get into the video, where there will be even more information to dump anyway. So, let's get started. However, we aren't even a second into the video yet, and we already have to talk about the thumbnail. The thumbnail was taken back as far as 2021, around the time when I had switched to my new sky backdrop and put up my set table. Back in 2020, I had this idea to do my own type of Magic Railroad project, as I was inspired by Blue Track Stack and Mr. Conductor Fan to make the ultimate version of how Thomas and the Magic Railroad should have been. Alas, even though I had taken pictures, made props, and even made a cast, and written half of a script, which I still have by the way, this project never came into fruition. I thought I was doing a complete ripoff of people who had already done Magic Railroad adaptations. I was taking what I loved from each one of them to make my own. A part of me is kind of glad that I didn't go through with this project, but a part of me kind of wishes that I still would have, just to see what it would have been. Anyway, back to the thumbnail. This was going to be originally the first, sort of teaser thumbnail for the movie, but again, it didn't come into fruition, as I hadn't even filmed a single thing yet. And for a while, I thought I was just left with it, until my Be Kind Rewind project. As you can also see, there's actually animation in this thumbnail, which was done by 10 This was around the time when he was doing animation commissions, and I think it only costed like $1 as this wasn't even a video. I tried to get him to animate the rest of the scenes for the video, but however, he never got back to me. Not to call him out or anything, but it just meant that I had to find someone else to do the animation for the entire video, which we'll get to later, but I thought I'd mention this before we actually started, but now we're actually going to start, so let's go. So after this title card, I originally wanted to have the Magic Railroad poster, like this. However, one of the requirements is that we were not allowed to watch the movie, as we had to do it from memory. And I didn't want to download any parts of the movie to look like that I may have cheated the game, so I stuck with the title card instead. Out of all the 3 scenes, this is the one line I actually messed up. I'll let it play out.
Like Stacy, Mutt sensed danger. He didn't want either me or Billy to leave Shining Time.
Now the line in the movie is actually,
Like Stacy, Mutt sensed danger. He didn't want either Billy or me to leave Shining Time.
but my project said me or Billy, so that's the only part I messed up. Old Smokey, you stay right here until I get back. Even though I basically play all the characters, from humans to engines, one of the people I got on this project was my family dog, Baby. So the thing with this scene is that I'm technically big size, like a normal human, when Mr. Conductor is technically supposed to be small. But since I was going to be spending every single part of the video on a green screen, I decided just not to bother with this part. Now what kind of answer is that? I'm going to be late. I'll get back as fast as I can. I have to concentrate now, Mutt. I've suddenly started having problems with my sparkle. Obviously, with me working with a dog and not another human, I had to do a few things to get Baby to do what I wanted her to do. I had to pat my hand on the couch for her to jump, and then pulled away my hand quickly to cut to Baby jumping. And the only way I got her to turn around was, well, if you look right here, I threw a dentist stick so that she would eat it and ignore me. Goodbye, Mutt. In the scenes where I'm facing the camera, I had to turn up the brightness with the sun shining in the background. For some reason, when I put my hand to say goodbye to Baby/Mutt, it made everything lighter, so I had to try to match that as best as I could. Goodbye, Mutt. Sparkle, sparkle, sparkle. The gold dust effect is one that I've used many times in past videos, and it's very good and iconic, and I've sort of mastered how to do it over time. Also, before I go any further, I also want to say that this video was made through 2 editors, Power Director and Adobe Premiere Rush. I had to use Power Director for any green screen effects because there is no feature for green screen on Premiere Rush, only Premiere Pro, and there's no actual way I'm paying that much for it. And then I rushed to put everything together and export everything. Sadly, I do not have any official water mills, so I had to sort of makeshift this set. I think it turned out pretty well. I used my normal trees and shrubbery, and the water is basically a blue blanket that I sleep with. Kind of weird detail to add, but it is the truth.
Mr. Conductor, where are you? I know you live far away, but you always seem to get here on time.
While this may be the second scene on Sodor, this was actually the first set that I filmed on. As you can see, it's my normal 3-track mainline countryside set, which you basically see in every single one of my videos, because my set table is too small to make impressive sets.
Oh, Mr. Conductor, are you alright?
Yes, Thomas. Now, even though this was supposed to be a low-budget project, in this scene, the only way I was going to make it work is if I bought another green screen, because any part where I'm in full frame, I was standing on 2 green screens, but anything from the waist up was 1 green screen. Yeah, I may have cheated the system and spent a little bit of money on this project, but hey, I already got my grade, and I doubt my old psychology teacher will be watching this video, but if he is, now you know.
Oh, Mr. Conductor, are you alright?
Yes, Thomas.
But sometimes everything happens at once. I have to see Tom Hat to get my orders right away.
A lot of lines in this scene are dubbed over as the audio didn't sound too good. I could have just turned it up, but at the same time I didn't really think of that.
The journey from Shine Time keeps getting bumpier and bumpier.
Does it? If you remember what I said at the beginning before we started, 10Leap10 edited the animation for the thumbnail. However, when I tried to get him back, he never responded to me. That meant I had to find another animator. But here's the thing. Money with me was tight at the time, as I didn't even have a job at the time. I sadly still don't, but I'm actually working on that, which meant I kind of had to find someone else who would animate it for free. So I went to JD415 and asked if he would do it, as he was already an animator for the CSC, which I also work on. He did this scene and the second scene, but we'll talk more about that later. Also, again, this was supposed to be a low-budget project, so when I showed this to my class, it was without animation. In fact, I still have the non-animated version, but I don't think I'm ever going to release it, as it would basically be a carbon copy of this video, but just without the animation.
A big bully Diesel's back, Mr. Conductor. You'd better be careful.
Even though Jake had to add more expressions for James in the next scene, in this scene I had different expressions for Thomas already. Now here's the thing, I really want to get my hands on the CGI expressions of the Adventures of Thomas pack in the future, but I have to be patient with that. So I used what I had, the Seabound Thomas expression, which actually is on a learning curve model, because you guys know I switched to the Mattel model a long time ago.
A big bully Diesel's back, Mr. Conductor. You'd better be careful.
Sir Topham Hatt warned me about Diesel. Don't worry, Thomas. It took me a while to achieve this shot, but of me being in Thomas's cab with me not really being in Thomas's cab, it's actually the exact same clip of when I say, Sir Topham Hatt warned me about Diesel. Don't worry, Thomas. However, it's just the part where I'm not talking. Now that I think about it, it was actually like 15 minutes before I actually spoke.
I'll just pop in and out with my sparkle wherever he goes and keep him in order. I hope.
Now, originally, I was going to take a picture of, this part here, print it out, and stick it onto the side of Thomas's cab. Kind of like what they did in the Magic Railroad parody, as you see here. However, this is a bit of extra time if I did not have. So, if people ask me why I wasn't leaning further out of Thomas's cab, I'll just say that I stepped further back in. Also, this shot here is actually flipped. I was originally going to take down the set to film Thomas leaving. But again, this was a bit of extra time I did not have, so I improvised here.
Old McDiesel had a plan, with a pinch here and a pinch there, here a pinch, there a pinch. I cracked myself up.
Now, originally, I was not originally going to have this entire sequence at all, but it was a last-minute addition because I thought it felt wrong without it. And not to mention, it was only 2 shots anyway. So a few things here. Other than the scene not originally going to be included, I didn't actually have a Knapford station. And even if I did, I don't think my current set table would be big enough for it. So I had to makeshift a Knapford station too, just like the watermill in this scene. Other than the Sir Topham Hatt Needs You poster, when filming this shot of Diesel 10, he's technically moving backwards, but I actually reversed it, so he's moving forwards. The same thing goes with this shot, and this shot from earlier too. But with that said, that is basically everything from this first scene. So let's move on to scene 2. Now, there's nothing really too special about this tarot card. However, before we actually cut to the scene, you hear Lady's whistle play.
Left a bit.
Which is technically a callback to the actual movie.
Left a bit. Yeah, no, right a bit. Yeah, up a bit.
As you can all see in this shot, the broom handle is completely missing. Now, I don't know how to do official on-screen green screen that's nice and clean, but yeah, this kind of looks pretty weird. But hey, again, this project isn't supposed to be perfect, so I'm just gonna let it slide. But yeah, the broom handle's totally missing. Also, side note, I may be technically standing throughout this entire sequence, but when I filmed this one scene in particular, I'm actually on my knees. There, James. Tickle all gone now?
No, still itchy.
Now, this is the part where I talk about the missing coach. Now, this is the part where I talk about the missing footage. So, basically, all the shots where I'm not facing the camera, and also this shot as well, still remained. However, for some weird reason, I had completely deleted all the footage where I was talking to James and facing the camera. Don't ask me how this happened, because I honestly don't know. But the point is, I had to refilm the entire sequence over again. Also, there was a change in location. Whereas in the first scene, most of the shots were filmed on a green screen in my living room, but all the scenes that I had to refilm were filmed in my grandma's bedroom, as the lighting was somewhat the same. I'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to the next scene.
There, James. Tickle all gone now?
No, still itchy. Hey, Mr. C, why do you look so tired? Is it because I'm red?
Once again, the animation was done by JD415. Not really too much to say here, but at least not until we get to the next scene.
Left a bit. No, right a bit. Yeah, up a bit. Oh, no, still itchy. Hey, Mr. C, why do you look so tired? Is it because I'm red? Diesel said red is a very tiring color, but Mr. C, red looks so nice against the snow. It's not me, is it?
In Thomas and the Magic Railroad, instead of having Michelangelos be the original voice actor, they replaced him with a voice actress, Susan Roman.
Left a bit. No, right a bit. Up a bit. Oh.
In fact, Percy also got a female voice actress, Linda Ballantyne.
Thomas, I was thinking, how does Mr. Conductor travel here?
Out of the two, I think Percy's voice fits better, being played by a female, but James's, well, yeah. Now, when it came to me doing James's voice, as you can see / hear, I didn't do a Susan Roman James voice. I decided to do my own take on James's voice. You know, basically the way of a lot of people in the fandom voice him. You know, giving him all the mannerisms and just the way he talks in general.
Diesel said red is a very tiring color, but Mr. C, red looks so nice against the snow. It's not me, is it?
Oh.
In this shot, the consist here is being pulled by my battery-powered engine that I got at Entertainment Junction back in 2021. It really does come in handy when you just need a random train to be pulled in the background. Also, as you can see here, I guess it's safe to say that I'm kind of working on a work-in-progress breakdown train, aka Judy and Jerome, but I haven't gotten anywhere with it yet. Well, I think that's basically everything to say about this scene, so I guess we'll just let it play out. Stop! Wait! Okay, so this is technically being recorded about, technically a little over 3 days in the future, but there are a few things that I've actually forgotten to mention, because here's the thing, I was so busy trying to, get the script written so that I could do all the voice recording and then get straight to editing, that, of course, like I said, there were a few things I forgot to mention, so this is just going to be me rambling off the cuff. So here's the thing, we'll let the scene play out a little bit, but we're not going to let it fully play out to the end.
Oh, no, of course not, James. I think that red is bright and cheerful.
Oh, good.
Just like my sparkle. Or at least it was. And it must be again. Oh, I'm sorry, James.
Okay, so you see, I lean over a little bit to put down the broom, but however, I'm a little bit off the green screen a little bit here. And then in this shot here, the reason I, kind of wave James off, the reason I don't do it the way Alec Baldwin does in Magic Railroad is because if my arm would have gone any further, it would have also been off the green screen. That's why I literally have my arms right next to my side the entire time. And then there's this final shot as James is puffing away. First off, you'll notice that it's not the exact same as in the movie. I don't know how they did it, so I decided to film it like how they did in Season 1 here, but with Sir Topham Hatt instead of Mr. Conductor. And also, if you look right there, now technically I'd already put the broom down, but there's still remnants of it still right there. If only I knew how to do rescans or something. Otherwise, this is an editing error I would happily take out. Anyway, now let's move on to the next scene. I thought it'd be a good idea to let this piece of music from Magic Railroad, the scene with Lily Patch and Burnett Stone, play just to build some suspense before we actually get into the actual scene. And I think it was a great payoff.
I'm sorry, Lily. I'm sorry because I've been whatever it is, responsible, liable, really useful, but
One of the things I found weird in this scene right here is Diesel 10 traveling on one track, but then on this set, there's really 3 tracks that show up. I now understand that this part was filmed on a different location of the set, but it just doesn't make sense. So I decided to go ahead and make the set 3 tracks instead.
I'm sorry, Lily. I'm sorry because I've been whatever it is, responsible, liable, really useful, but I will be.
Now, obviously, I was supposed to be riding on Diesel 10 in this scene, but of course, since Sodor is not a real place, of course, and of course, with my scenes beforehand were all on green screen, I had to make a little tiny figure of me to impose on top of Diesel 10's roof while he was moving. I sculpted it out of Crayola air dry clay. In fact, I still have it just in case if I decide to do a remaster. So of course, if I decide to do a remaster, I'll obviously repaint it a little bit up in different colors. Of course, depending on what type of clothes I decide to wear.
I'm sorry, Lily. I'm sorry because I've been whatever it is, responsible, liable, really useful, but I will be! I will be!
I guess a few other details I can sum up in this section is the pinchy sound effect is heard even though the claw doesn't move. Diesel 10's horn is heard even though he didn't really have one in Magic Railroad. And the steam right here is a green screen effect. Since I didn't actually have a fog machine, also if you look really closely right here, Diesel 10 technically stops because he hits the end of the set. But since the steam kind of covers it, you can't really tell. But however, now that I just pointed it out, you can clearly see it now.
James!
Once again, let's take the time to stop and talk about the animation, which was not done by JD415. You see, Jake doesn't know how to do tracking shots, and I didn't have a surprised face expression of James, nor a cross expression of Diesel 10, so I had to commission another animator who knew how to do tracking shots. 10 had still not gotten back to me, so I decided to commission Vincente22 to do this entire scene for me. And it was quite cheap too, it only costed me like $10, so a huge thanks to Vincente for all of this.
James!
This seems like the best time to stop and talk about this, but if you pause in the right place, you can see the little model figure of me riding on top of Diesel 10 or James. I know you can plainly see it in this scene right here, but the pacing is so fast that you can hardly stop to get a good look at it. So here are a few pictures. It's kind of like a Where's Waldo. You can try to stop it in the right place if you want to, but you have to make sure you do it in just the right place, otherwise it's kind of a blink and you'll miss it type of moment.
James!
After Diesel 10 comes to an abrupt halt, I fly through the air and land on James. However, I didn't know how to properly go about this. They did it so well in Magic Railroad, so I took a few pictures of myself from a certain angle and then moved them in different places, chopping up the photo. Then I sped it up. Then I uploaded it once and then sped it up to look like I was actually flying.
James!
In the last scene, I said I had to refilm a lot of shots with me standing looking at what was supposed to be James in my grandma's bedroom. Well, this entire smelter scene was filmed in my grandma's bedroom. From me landing on James here to the scene of me standing on top of James later on.
James! Ah! So you've lost your sparkle too, huh? Bye-bye, Twinkle Toes.
Oh no. It's empty.
I guess there are a few things here that I want to talk about. In this scene here, after I fly off of Diesel 10, if you look at my feet, you can clearly see that I'm not wearing shoes. I'm wearing my socks. Yeah, pretty professional, I know. Yeah, let's just move on. When Pinchy raises up here, he's being pulled by string. And when this shot of Diesel 10 is rolling forwards towards James, and I'm pulling Diesel 10 on the string, but I'm pulling James backwards by hand. Also, as you guys saw from earlier, this white backdrop here. I really wish I wouldn't have done this, but it's just the sky backdrop flipped around. And this shot here, when I blow the whistle, James's face is smiling because the green screen effect was placed on top before the animation was added, so nothing that Vincente could do about that, and that was totally on me. The same thing goes for this shot right here. Also, if you couldn't tell, there's a little cut right here. I forget exactly why I had to do that, though. I was originally going to put another green screen of myself around over here to portray Mr. Conductor, but I felt like this was a little bit extra work, especially since I was so close to being done. Also, this little part where I say bye to James was dubbed over. Also, that whirring sound is from my computer because I was talking so close to the microphone and I wasn't able to cancel out the background noise.
Bye, James.
Bye, Junior.
Ugh.
And with that, we are finally done. Whew! That was a lot to talk about, but hey, I'm finally glad that I got to do this. Now, the real question I have to ask myself is this project perfect by any means? Absolutely not. That's the good part about it. It wasn't supposed to be perfect. It was supposed to be a low-budget project. However, now that I'm officially out of school, and if I ever decide to remaster one of these scenes, you can bet your bottom dollar I'm going to try to go all out for it. Although this likely won't happen until I get my own place one day, where there's a lot more space to film, and so that I can do whatever I want in general. Until then, I can keep refining my tips and tricks as I go along. And making this project was worth it, as I won a 3D printed gold trophy from my teacher, so this is a nice last memory before I graduated. Even though this video took a long time to write, edit, and record, I really hope you all enjoyed this video. After this video ends, please go and actually watch the original video, as the link will be in the description below. And not to mention, it will be turning a year old the 26th of July, the same day Magic Railroad was released here in the US. Also, like the second recording at the end of the second scene, this is also being recorded a few days later, but I also wanted to give a quick shout out to Unlucky Tug. Not just because I used a bit of his footage in my video, but for inspiring me with the idea to make this video in the first place. I also want to give a shout out to JD415 for, as always, doing the thumbnail. You could say he's my go-to guy when it comes to this stuff. So guys, with that said, Useful Engine 11 signing out, take care everyone, and I'll see you all next time.